Hello, this is Angela with Parker's Permaculture. It is a gorgeous spring day here in Portland, Oregon, in my Permaculture Food Forest Zone 8B. Today I wanted to talk about the permaculture concept of abundance. Now, I'm going to show you around a little bit of my garden here, and I want to talk about how there's kind of an erroneous notion in a lot of gardening groups that there is only so much you can grow, that there is a limit to the abundance that nature can produce. Now, there are factors that can limit abundance, such as soil fertility, sunlight, erosion, other climatic factors like disturbance of fires and wind and things like that. There are limits on too much or too little water. But in terms of if the system is designed for abundance, there is no limit to what you can grow. Now, you'll have to grow things that are appropriate for your climate and that properly utilize your space, but this is when we talk about permaculture as a design system to help us grow and live abundantly. We have been sold a bill of goods when it comes to gardening and human influence on the landscape and abundance. We have been taught, I know I have been taught in school, in studying agriculture, in the common cultural concept of gardening and growing food and interacting with wild spaces, that there is a limit to abundance. Permaculture would say, we don't know what the upper limit of abundance is. We don't top out. The reason that we top out in our agricultural systems now is because they are extractive. They are depleting landscapes. They are reducing fertility. But if we change the way that we interact with the landscape so that our goals are increasing fertility, our goals are not taking what we can get out of a system in the short term and not thinking about putting into it. If we change that outlook to a permaculture one that says, I want to plan for longevity, I want to plan for increasing abundance. I'm not thinking about what I can get right now. I am thinking about what will push my system toward diversity, toward bounty, toward a mix of species in the landscape, toward good design that promotes a mix of species in the landscape. And not only a mix of species, but each of those individual species being the most healthy and abundant they can be. That's what permaculture says, and that is not what we have been taught. We've been taught there are a finite number of plants you can grow in a space. There is a finite amount of people that we can have on this planet. I will be making a video on that subject. I know it's going to be contentious, and I know people are going to argue with me because I've been unfriended and blocked by people in the past about that subject. And as long as I'm rolling with videos lately about omnivores and vegans and things like that, I might as well tackle some of those other harder concepts of permaculture, including population. But I digress. So we've been told that there is an upper limit to abundance. And permaculture would say in a system where you have poor design, where you are wrestling with factors you have not resolved yet, where humans are not a positive force on the landscape to create good earthworks with good, consistent water supplies and promoting the correct input of sun and protection from wind and building fertility in the soil. Where we have situations where humans are not doing that, there absolutely is a limit to abundance. In a situation where we are constantly building fertility, we are constantly observing, interacting, we are designing from patterns to details, we are working to increase our yields, there is no upper limit. So keep in mind, when I bought this 1/4 acre garden more than 12 years ago, it was not a garden. It was weeds. It was poorly installed sod with plastic backing that has been a nightmare for me to deal with for 12 years. And through slow, small changes that I made to the yard, I have increased the species diversity from about 5 species of plants to literally hundreds and hundreds of kinds of plants growing that produce food, that produce habitat for wildlife. My garden is bursting with insects, arachnids, birds, frogs, We have a lot of Pacific tree frogs right now in the garden. The soil health has gone from completely depleted to teeming with fungi and microorganisms that help feed my plants. And at the same time, I'm able to have an annual veggie garden, as you see here, a perennial orchard with more than 40 fruit and nut trees, and I don't know how many berry bushes. I'm able to have flowers and a cutting garden mixed in, all on a landscape that couldn't even support grass 12 years ago. A bacterially dominated soil that if you looked at it, you would have thought, there's no possibility for abundance here. There's no possibility for fertility. Well, that's because there was no fertility then. But now, being patient, working slowly with nature, taking my time, doing what felt approachable and achievable for me within the context of my real life, this is what I've been able to produce. And again, this is just the backyard. I also have side yard gardens and a front yard little food forest garden. Making changes of creating places for water to go, like this rain garden, creating swales to catch and store water in my annual veggie beds, improving vertical space to make the most out of my small garden. I have dramatically increased abundance here. So I hope that is an encouragement to you that you can do a lot with a small space. Don't listen to those naysayers who say there's only so much you can grow. We grow thousands of pounds of food a year here, endless amounts of flowers for my enjoyment, for pollinators. We have bees and ducks and chickens. There's so much you can do with a small space if you use permaculture design. So my encouragement to you is do not feel hindered or hampered. Do not feel like there is an upper limit to what you can accomplish in your garden. Don't listen to people who tell you you can't grow any more plants in this space. You can't improve your design in order to have more, in order to improve your yields and improve your enjoyment of the garden and to provide more habitat for wildlife. Don't listen to that. Know that the sky is the limit, and as long as you keep an open mind and keep the goal focused on building fertility, you'll be surprised at how much you can do, even in small spaces, even in spaces that initially seem like they're really depleted and struggling at the get-go. When you focus on building fertility, those can become sites that produce so much more than you ever imagined. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please consider checking out my Patreon, which is in the description, and subscribing to my channel. I am trying to produce more and more content for my patrons, including folks who sponsor at the highest level. I mail you some sweet little gifts in the mail. So, and if there are subjects that you would like me to tackle related to permaculture, let me know, and I will try to get to them in the future. Thank you.